Hey guys, it's KJ from the Scariest Movie Ever channel on YouTube. And I have a video here covering a subject I've been wanting to cover for a really long time, but I was just waiting for that one piece. Well, it seems I found that piece just yesterday, so I kind of want to get into this here. Now what you're looking at right here, this is the Supreme Court building in Israel. And as you can see right there over on the left, that's an Illuminati pyramid with the sun symbol, or the eye, right there at the very top. It's a very common symbol that we all associate with the Illuminati, or the beast system, if you will. And here we find it on top of Israel's Supreme Court building. So I saw a video yesterday by a man named Paul Begley. Now, I imagine a lot of you that are subbed to me are probably subbed to him as well, just because we cover some similar subjects here and there. So Paul Begley is actually in Israel right now, and he uploaded a video yesterday where he'd actually filmed this pyramid on top of that building. So throughout the years I've been covering the subject of symbolism and the so-called Illuminati and all this. I've covered this for a really long time. I thought it was weird, man, and all the time I've covered it, this one somehow just kind of got past me a little bit. I've covered some things about Israel and the Illuminati, but never really went that deep into it. I've got a lot of pieces of the puzzle I've collected over the years, but this right here really set it in stone for me. So I wanted to do a video and just kind of cover a few things about this. This is a very, very important find. I did a little research online. I found about 4 or 5 years ago some people were talking about this and putting this out there. So it's not that this is exactly fresh, but I mean, as I said, even when I saw that video from Paul Begley, it was kind of fresh to me. I was like, whoa, and it really kind of struck me. So this was a really important catch as far as I'm concerned, and we definitely need to delve into this a little bit deeper. As I said, I've got some information on this stuff throughout the years, but seeing this video yesterday, it's like, okay, let's go ahead and dive into this some. It's important to understand that the same families who own and control the Federal Reserve and other major financial institutions have their eyes set on the Temple Mount and the holy city of Jerusalem. Just as the scriptures say, there's a man who will be revealed as the Antichrist, and he will sit there before the appearance of the Jewish Messiah, and many will receive him as their Messiah. And speaking of that, I've actually covered Dig, the TV series, in a few other videos, but it actually just concluded recently. But that right there was the whole idea behind this TV series, Dig. It was about establishing the Jewish Messiah. It was about these rituals they were doing at the Temple Mount to usher this in. They were performing these rituals at the temple that would essentially be Armageddon, the end of the world, and that would offer them the chance to bring in this Jewish Messiah. Even in the TV show, it was all about blood sacrifice. They were going to sacrifice this red heifer. As I said, I've covered that as well in some other videos. It's interesting to note, God wouldn't send men to that place anymore to perform blood sacrifices. His son's blood was the perfect sacrifice, so there's no need for us to shed the blood of dumb animals any longer. Yeshua did a perfect work, and remember, it was finished. What's kind of creepy and freaky about this is I do believe that the Antichrist, whenever it arrives on the national scene, it'll be accepted by most Christians as the Savior who can bring peace and safety, peace and order to the world. So ultimately, Jesus, Yeshua, will enter into that place, the holy mountain of God, and cleanse it. But before that happens, all hell is going to break loose in Jerusalem and the world. So with all that said, I want to explore a little bit more of this symbolism here at the Supreme Court. We'll even go inside some, and I just want to show you a few things. So this is a very, very touchy subject, and before I get into it, I just want to address a few things. It's not all the Jews, all right? I get this message on so many of my videos. It's like, why don't you ever talk about the Jews? It's the Jews, So much hatred for that entire race. Now, I refuse to do that, because what a lot of people don't understand is that all religions are controlled by the devil. All religions are of the beast system. Islam has the cube. Many of us know about the cube and understand the symbolism there. The cube going back to Saturn or Saturnalia, or ultimately back to Satan. So a lot of layers to that particular onion right there. But once again, this is a religion that is controlled by the beast, ultimately. Even in America, if you look at most churches, because there's so many different denominations, right? All these different interpretations of God's Word and what God's all about. Got all these buildings, but if you look at these buildings, and this is a typical example of most churches in America, if you look at these buildings, if you look right there in the lower left right there, they always have the pyramid with the sun in the middle, the sun symbol. This is why those lines are coming out. It's the Illumination. Now, I'm not saying it's a bunch of Illuminati guys in black hoods, built these churches or whatever. This goes back to the connection with Freemasonry and religion. And that's all fine and good, and I wouldn't really have a personal issue with it if it wasn't for the fact that Freemasons take oaths of secrecy. So basically, whatever's happening in the church, or they're saying in the church, or saying in public, could be very different from what they're doing and saying and working on in private. But on the higher level of the pyramid, the higher level of the Freemason structure, it's definitely much darker up there. So these are examples of, once again, what I call that beast system. Remember, it is the enemy that is in control of all of these religions. We don't need religion. This is where it gets tricky. Now, that's not to say that the people that go to church or the people that go to synagogue or go to mosques or whatever are all evil and bad people either. These are the sheep. These are the little lambs. There are millions of people on this planet that are controlled by that beast system through their very religions. And this is regardless of what they hold in their hearts. There are really good people that fall for this stuff. I mean, I see it in my own family. I was one. I was raised in a church myself. I was raised in a church in the Midwest myself, and I'm glad I was. It gave me a really good understanding of the basics and the fundamentals of religion and whatnot, but it wasn't until I personally left the church and started researching for myself that I really started to connect with the very real spiritual battle that's taking place in our world all around us, and the insane grip that this beast system has on all of religion and on people's hearts and minds. And I'm not saying, don't go to church and this and that or the other. I mean, some people need that community. It's a good place to learn the basics and the fundamentals. I mean, the whole thing, right? It just didn't work for me. And I've been to pretty much every church you can imagine. I've got books on the Book of Mormon. I've got the English version of the Quran, Dianetics from L. Ron Hubbard, you name it. I mean, I've read about everything. I've been to a lot of different churches. I've mentioned in other videos I was actually in a bit of a cult in Maui. And there was no brainwashing, they didn't get me an MK Ultra or anything like that, but the guy that ran it was a charismatic and really, really good with words, and it didn't take long for me to realize this guy was cuckoo. It took a few months. The point is, we've all been deceived. We can all get pulled back into this beast system. So again, this is very touchy stuff, and I don't want anybody thinking this is anti-Semitic. Now, that's a big issue. This is what this Illuminati, if you will, these people at the top of the pyramid, have been hiding behind for decades now. Like, if you ever go against Israel or say anything against Israel, it's like automatically you're an anti-Semite. You hate the Jews. That's all a psyop. It's social engineering. It's just a way to shut you down and keep your mouth shut. So once again, understand, I'm coming from a place of love. I see us all as brothers and sisters in Christ, whether people believe in that or not. That's how I see the world. The Supreme Court building sits on a plot of land next to the Foreign Ministry and the Central Bank of Israel. It's important to note there's a lot of ley lines at play here as well. I'm not going to cover that so much here in this video. There's people out there that do really good work with that. There's a lot of things happening with the ley lines all around the Supreme Court as well. But that being said, it's important to understand that everything about this building has been thought out to the very finest detail. And I see it as absolutely diabolical. This is the devil's plan being put into place before we ever even realize it. The devil, knows its final battle will be here in Jerusalem. Now, if you're not familiar with the Rothschild family, please do a little research there. People always ask, who's the Illuminati? What do they look like? This is one of them. The Rothschild family is one of the Illuminati bloodline families. So it's interesting to note that the engineers who were chosen for this job by the Rothschilds were the grandson and granddaughter of a man who actually worked for Baron Rothschild. You also find their love of numerology all throughout this building and in the building process. It was important to the builder to have everything done according to the correct numbers. It's really interesting because all around the building you'll find these different pathways that you can walk through, and here's one right here. The larger circle you see at the bottom of the picture is actually an inverted cross, and this whole thing was designed for people to walk on. So this is actually a religious emblem placed there designed for people to trample on under their feet. So keeping in mind that we're approaching a one world religion, okay, this is what's coming. This will be the beast system fully revealed, the Antichrist system. So this is why we find all the world religions represented in one way or another. For instance, right here, just beyond that Egyptian obelisk, lies a Muslim gravesite. Another thing you'll find all throughout the building and even out in the courtyard are multiple Hindu altars. And just in case there's still any doubt that the Rothschilds are actually behind this, this is one of the placards you find on the wall. The founder of the Rothschild dynasty and his 5 sons established all the central banks throughout Europe. The Rothschilds made several stipulations with the Israeli government before building the Supreme Court. And among them were that the Rothschilds would pick the plot of land to build the Supreme Court, they would use their own architects, and no one would ever know how much the building actually cost. It took them 4 years to build this structure with many secrets built into it. As I said, every element of this building was built according to occult knowledge. This right here is a great example. You find it right here that when you first enter the building, you actually find yourself on the journey. This entire journey is intended to bring one from darkness into the light and become an illuminated one. As you see here, when you very first enter the building, it starts off with dim lighting, but as you look up the stairs, you see the bright light that comes from a very large window that looks over parts of Jerusalem. It's also very important to note these steps here. There are 3 sets of 10 steps, making a total of 30. Now, as you ascend these 30 steps, you come from the darkness into the light. And from here you can see the world, or in this case, the city of Jerusalem, like you've never seen it before. It's also worth mentioning that right here on the right side, you'll see the old Jerusalem stones. Some even believe these same stones were used in the Second Temple. And on the other side, you'll see the smooth modern wall. There are 6 lampstands going up that speaks to the man on his journey to gain his knowledge and become illuminated. But once again, I think it's very important to note that the ones who built this building built it to be, in their eyes, perfect and in their order of things, even numerically. And even right here, this is where we start getting a little bit deeper, but when you leave the center courtroom or the main courtroom, the base of the stairs you walk down, as you descend, you'll find the fertility symbol right there in the very center, which is always present in any of these so-called Illuminati structures. It's often kind of hidden, but it's always there. The symbol there in the center represents the woman, and then the, of course, staff or whatever you'd like to call that, going through the center is the penetration. And speaking of that sign of fertility, we find it once again here at Wasilla High School. They actually made the statue a few years back, and this is Sarah Palin's territory right here. Once again, they're telling us that this is all about the, quote, warrior from within. Once again, alluding to the, if you will, female sexual organs, these signs of fertility. These things are often connected as well to the whole idea of goddess worship, and I've covered that in a lot of videos as well. So at this point, the term Illuminati is basically a catch-all phrase for the beast system, or the Antichrist system to come, the New World Order. There's still a lot of people out there that make fun of this symbolism. I see it all the time. I see a lot of really dumbed down things like this. You see this all the time online. Illuminati confirmed, pyramid, right? Well, I understand that. Now, there's different reasons why people do this. Some people just don't understand what's going on. I think other people probably see it, but it scares them. So they don't want to put stuff like this out, laugh at it, make fun of it, right? What these people are representing is this. It's the same symbol that we find on top of the Israeli Supreme Court building. The all-seeing eye with the pyramid, the beast system, the coming Antichrist system of the one world order to follow. If you really want to wake somebody up out there, I think this is a great example right here. You can show them this pyramid with the sun symbol or the all-seeing eye on top of the Israeli Supreme Court. Show them all the other symbolism that's taking place inside this building and around it. Show them all these celebrities that are doing the same symbol. Show them the movies, the advertisements, the TV shows. It's everywhere. This is something I cover on this channel extensively. So once again, folks, this is just another example of that beast system being our reality. The devil controls all of these religions and all of these governments on the entire planet. I know, a lot of people don't want to hear that. There's different names we can give it, you know, the this, the that, the whatever, but ultimately it is what it is. It's going to go down in Jerusalem. All eyes on Jerusalem. Right? So anyway, folks, that's what I've got for you now. I appreciate you watching the video. And as I said, use this information as a tool to help wake up others. All right? Help them to see past this dumb, you know, Illuminati confirmed stuff like that. Okay? Show them the facts. Show them the truth. And then let them figure out the rest for themselves. Because a lot of people want you to just give them the answers. But oftentimes when you just tell somebody something, they don't totally take it in. So lead them down the path, give them the tools they need, the tools necessary to find out more about this hidden reality right before our very eyes. So thanks again for checking out the video, folks. You take care out there, all right? And I'll talk to you real soon.